all of this clearly impacts President Biden's potential pursuit for a second term. And Fox News' Peter Doocy brought this up at the White House yesterday. Listen to this.
President Biden is still intending to run for re-election in 2024, right?
I'll just repeat what the president said after the midterm election, which is he intends to run.
Is there a precedent for people running for president after FBI agents search their sock drawer?
It sounds like you already know that the answer to that question.
Yeah, that's a toughie there. In the wake of the fourth batch of classified material found on Friday, making it the third at the president's Wilmington residence, 2 letters were sent by Republicans, and they were sent yesterday. So the House Oversight Committee Chair James Comer, he wrote this to the Secret Service, quote, given the White House's lack of transparency regarding President Biden's residential visitor logs, the committee seeks information from the Secret Service regarding who had access to his home since serving as vice president. And then you have Senators Ron Johnson and Chuck Grassley reaching out to the National Archives, seeking more about how they were informed of the classified documents starting back in early November, expressing here that NARA, as it's called in the White House, have so far been unresponsive into inquiries regarding Biden family dealings. Quote, on July 30th, 2021 and June 28th, 2022, we asked the White House about then Vice President Joe Biden's use of non-government email for government business, the transmission of government information to his son, Hunter Biden, and compliance with federal record laws. To date, the White House has failed to respond to those requests. Well, yesterday, our Peter Doocy also asked the White House very plainly if the president is involved in a cover-up. Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said that the president takes all of this very seriously and that his team has been cooperative.
Today is Tuesday, January 24th, 2023, and Joe Biden lied about being involved in Hunter Biden's business deals. Did Hunter use classified docs to make money? The answer to that is, of course, yes. Reporters send Karine Jean-Pierre into panic in briefing room, and Ghislaine Maxwell says Epstein was murdered. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show, live to you from Atlanta, Georgia, where we are currently asking people here what they think about the white domestic terrorist group, Antifa. And Antifa rampaged through Atlanta and damaged a lot of things. They tried to murder cops here. And so we are doing our best to be on the ground reporting and finding out the facts that the corporate press won't. So all the more reason to subscribe and all the more reason to follow your boy Benny. Now, this morning we want to jump right into it, ladies and gentlemen, because we found something very curious yesterday in the treatment of Joe Biden versus Donald Trump. The DOJ treating investigations into Biden and Trump's handling of classified documents the same, says Merrick Garland. Merrick Garland was saying that he is going to look directly at Trump and directly at Biden with the same set of norms and practices to ensure neutrality. These men, among other things, that we do not have different rules for Democrats and Republicans, different rules for powerful and powerless, different rules for the rich and the poor, Garland told reporters at the Justice Department. We apply the facts and the law, in each case, the same, neutral, nonpartisan manner. That is what we always do, and that is what we will do in matters you're referring to. Garland appointed former U.S. Attorney Robert Hur to special counsel earlier this month to investigate how the classified documents ended up in Biden's home in Delaware. In November, Garland tapped Jack Smith, a former U.S. attorney, chief of the DOJ's public integrity section, and a rabid anti-Trumper to be the special counsel investigation into Trump's handling of materials. Well, there already is a major difference because Robert Hur is a James Comey lackey and an agent of the deep state. Nonetheless, Merrick Garland says they're all going to get the exact same treatment. Do you believe him? Have a listen.
They ensure that we adhere to the rule of law. These mean, among other things, that we do not have different rules for Democrats or Republicans, different rules for the powerful or the powerless, different rules for the rich or for the poor. We apply the facts and the law in each case in a neutral, nonpartisan manner. That is what we always do, and that is what we do in the matters that you're referring to.
Okay. So will they be applying the rules in a nonpartisan manner? Will they be treating Joe Biden with the absolute same scorn as they treat Donald Trump with? Now, we've gone and done our research today, and so we bring to you, ladies and gentlemen, our research on the lies of Joe Biden. Has Joe Biden been in business with his son? Has he lied about his business dealings with his son, Hunter Biden? That's what this is all about. make no mistake, with Joe Biden, what is happening right now is you are seeing the full-scale beginnings of an investigation into a crime to sell out the American people. What happened was, and we'll set up the timeline for you here, Joe Biden left office. Joe Biden didn't think he'd ever run for office again. Joe Biden then decided that he's going to bet against the American people, against American energy, against the American nation that you are part of, and he's going to go in league with our enemies. He said, hey, listen, this Titanic is going down. We might as well get in a lifeboat ahead of time. That is why Joe Biden went and sold out American energy interests, sold out the American people to the Ukrainians, to the Russians, to every oligarch in the world through Hunter Biden, and they sold the access to our nation's treasures to the worst operators on planet Earth because, well, they needed to act against America. They needed to make their quick buck. They needed to get going and get going now. So that is ultimately the scandal here. Now, what were people buying? What these countries were buying with the Bidens was access to America's secrets in the form of classified documents. Hence why those tranches of classified documents can be found all over Joe Biden's home. And as we discovered yesterday, those tranches of classified documents also included papers from his Senate days. Joe Biden has been in the United States Senate since 2009. So you're now talking better part of 14 years of classified documents, at least that we know of, Joe Biden has been stashing. Why? Because Joe Biden knows that access to those docs means money for his family. Hunter Biden can, and we will prove this to you in our show today, can sell access to those documents and access to American intelligence and to what's going to go on in the world. America is still a hegemony country, and America can still influence the operations of global dominance through our military and through our economy. And so Joe Biden, having the operational manual, essentially, access to it for the American empire, can then give that to Hunter, and Hunter can go sell that to the highest bidder, and those people can bet or hedge against America. That was the crime operation for the Biden family. Now, Joe Biden was then drafted. We don't know how that process occurred, but Joe Biden wound up running for president, and he wound up getting asked some very uncomfortable questions about Hunter Biden and his business dealings with him. This is Joe Biden at the Iowa State Fair in 2019. I was actually at this event. I literally heard this question being asked. Peter Doocy directly to Joe Biden, what do you know about your son's business dealings? Listen to the response.
Mr. Vice President, how many times have you ever spoken to your son about his overseas business dealings?
I've never spoken to my son about his overseas business dealings.
And so how do you know?
Here's what I know. I know Trump deserves to be investigated. He is violating every basic norm of a president. You should be asking him the question, why is he on the phone with a foreign leader, trying to intimidate a foreign leader, if that's what happened? That appears what happened. You should be looking at Trump. Trump's doing this because he knows I'll beat him like a drum. And he's using the abuse of power and every element of the presidency to try to do something to smear me. Everybody looked at this, and everybody's looked at it and said there's nothing there. Ask the right question.
Mr. Biden, okay, but if you've never spoken to your son,
will he be impeached for this? Depending on what the House finds, he could be impeached. But I'm not making that judgment now. The House should investigate it. The House should investigate.
Pride cometh before destruction. Joe Biden there saying that Donald Trump could be impeached for this. Ladies and gentlemen, what is the number one rule? The number one rule is that the thing that they accuse you of doing, the thing that they accuse the enemies of the Democrat Party of doing, they themselves are absolutely criminally culpable in engaging in that same behavior. In that clip is so stunning. We'll probably open every single show with that clip from now into eternity. Joe Biden looking down the barrel of the Fox News cameras, pointing his finger at a reporter, saying, ask the right questions, lying to his face, saying, I never had any involvement in my son Hunter's business dealings. Pride cometh before destruction. Man, the hubris of these people will be their downfall. And Joe Biden denied it in other circumstances, officially in the 2020 presidential debates on stage. Watch.
My son has not made money in terms of this thing about, what are you talking about? China. I have not had, the only guy made money from China is this guy. He's the only one. Nobody else has made money from China.
Never
President
to
Trump,
deal with
let
China.
me
By the
ask
way,
my question to you.
But could I just one thing?
Very quickly.
His son didn't have a job for a long time, was sadly no longer in the military service. I won't get into that. And he didn't have a job. As soon as he became vice president, Burisma, not the best reputation in the world. I hear they paid him $183,000 a month. Listen to this. 183, and they gave him a $3 million upfront payment.
All right.
And he had no energy.
I'm going to let the vice president
That's
respond to that quickly,
100%
and then I need to get to a
dishonest.
question to you. Very
No
quickly,
basis
Mr.
for
Vice
that. Everybody investigated that. No one said anything.
Boy, it must be amazing to have all of the corporate press on your side and to be 2 against 1, 4 against 1 in those kind of debates. That's what Donald Trump was up against. Punch the button. Donald Trump was right. Womp, 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 womp. That's the button that we hit every single time. Donald Trump was right once again, calling out the Biden corruption. And this, of course, was the scam. Joe Biden sells American secrets to and through his son. His son gets plum, no-show positions as a cokehead on the boards of these energy companies in order to launder American secrets through those agencies so that they can balkanize or they can hedge against what American foreign policy is going to be. And those kind of foreign policy decisions end up crippling countries and industries. And so this is a very, very smart business move. It's a very, very corrupt business move. It's a very, very illegal business move. And it's the largest political bombshell in our time. Anything that Bill Clinton dealt with or Richard Nixon dealt with or any of that, all the scandals alone will not add up to what we're about to find out about the Hunter Biden family. And it's not just me saying so. Ladies and gentlemen, we went through and spent a lot of time researching. I happen to be, again, in Atlanta right now. We are doing some out in the field reporting. And so we had some time last night. So we went through and researched every single instance where it is verifiable that Joe Biden was involved with his son's business dealings. We are very excited to bring you the preponderance of this evidence right now, but starting with, and we are quite shocked at this, our mouths are agape, but it is worth noting that off the top, because we are literally across the street from the soon-to-be closed down CNN Center, because CNN went woke and then they lost all their viewership, that CNN is trying their hardest to return to being a real, actual news company. And so CNN did real, actual reporting that, dare I say, might not have even been able to be aired on Fox News. CNN took a meat cleaver to the Bidens, a wood chipper to Hunter Biden, and they ground them up into absolute beef, ladies and gentlemen. Watch what CNN did to the Bidens as it pertains to this lie that aired on CNN's airwaves. Both those clips that we played for you broadcasted on CNN. Joe Biden lying about his son Hunter's business dealings. Watch CNN from the top rope drop the people's elbow on Joe Biden. And man, this is a TKO. Listen.
Despite his denials, a CNN review of the laptop data as well as other public material shows that Joe Biden did interact with some of his son's associates while serving as vice president, though it's unclear exactly what was discussed. One example, the Republican site, Miguel Alemán Magnani, a Mexican businessman and son of the former president who Hunter was trying to woo. In 2014, Alemán Magnani and his dad were photographed at the White House with then Vice President Biden. In a later email, Hunter Biden reminds Alemán Magnani of the favors he's done for him. We have been talking about business deals and partnerships for 7 years. I have brought every single person you have ever asked me to bring to the effing White House and the Vice President's house and the inauguration. Hunter Biden bluntly acknowledged the power of the Biden name in a memoir, writing that the Ukrainian energy company Burisma, which put him on its board, considered my last name gold.
I don't think that there's a lot of things that would have happened in my life that if my last name wasn't Biden.
What kind of black pill has CNN taken? Not the red pill, the black pill on the Biden family. Again, this is another piece of evidence to prove to you exactly that they're turning on Joe. CNN, of course, is the reason that Joe Biden exists. CNN ran Joe Biden's campaign for him, and now they are the ones slowly and very accurately driving that knife directly into Caesar's side. Now, why? Is it because CNN has new ownership and has been sold essentially for the same price as a stack of VHSs at a garage sale in Gary, Indiana? Probably. and they need to gain some viewers back. And the only way to gain viewers back is to gain back the respect of the viewership. And if you have this kind of a political smoldering dumpster fire of a scandal sitting right in front of you, you better go in and actually report on it. The other reason is because CNN is simply doing the bidding of the people who want Joe Biden to not run again in 2024. CNN's not going to be able to shoulder another campaign for Joe Biden. This is not lightning that strikes twice. And speaking of lightning striking directly in the head, let's begin, ladies and gentlemen, with our direct lightning strike on the Biden family as we evidence for you all of the various times where Joe Biden is directly involved in the Hunter Biden business dealings. And again, we will preface the reason why this is so important is because the classified document scandal points to the purpose of the Biden business dealings. The Biden business dealings was to sell out American secrets to the highest bidder. We actually have evidence of that. Let's begin. You can hear in Joe Biden's own voice talking to Hunter Biden on a voicemail about his Chinese business dealings as it pertains to a New York Times article. Let's start with just the direct evidence, because we have evidence of Joe Biden's name on Hunter Biden's laptop. We have evidence of Joe Biden's voice and Hunter Biden's voicemails discussing this corrupt, crooked business dealing with the Chinese energy company CEFC. Now, this business dealing was being written up by the New York Times. Joe Biden got an advanced copy of that. I wonder why. How did Joe Biden get advanced copy? It's almost as though the corporate Democrats are working hand in glove with corporate media. But I guess we'll ask those questions later. Here's Joe Biden saying he thinks you're in the clear. I think you're in the clear. Now, why would you say that to someone unless they are somehow hiding something, unless they are a criminal of some sort? I don't say that to like my daughter when she's eating a piece of pizza. Hey, you're in the clear here. I don't say that to my employees when they just like do their jobs. Oh, you're in the clear. Finally. Oh, good. Okay. That was a close one. What? Listen.
Dad, I called to tell you I love you. I love you more than the whole world, pal. Can I get some help? I don't know what to do. I know you don't either.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that wasn't actually it wasn't actually the right voicemail. Apologize for that. That was the other voicemail where Joe Biden is talking about his son. Maybe we can get Alex, can we fish up the right one? Maybe we can get the right voicemail, but that's the one where he's talking about his son and his drug problem. This is also a implication of Joe Biden understanding that his son was involved with drugs and that his son was lying on his federal background checks, his NICS form, when he was illegally acquiring firearms. You're not allowed to acquire firearms if you're on crack cocaine. I've acquired many firearms since moving to Florida, where it's legal to do so, and I have to every single time list all of the illegal drugs that I am on. Now, Joe Biden is, of course, copping to one of Hunter Biden's crimes there. Hunter Biden is currently under federal investigation for lying on his federal forms while he's on drugs and brandishing firearms naked hookers off of his laptop. But that's not what we're focusing on this show. What we're focusing on is Joe Biden talking about his son's Chinese business dealings with Chinese oil tycoon and accused spy chief of China, according to Hunter Biden, in a New York Times article. Joe Biden called his son in 2018 to discuss these dealings, and he left a voicemail saying, "I think you're in the clear," according to a report. The voicemail, discovered on the cell phone backup contained on Hunter Biden's infamous discarded laptop, would appear to contradict President Biden's continued denial that he never talked to his disgraced 52-year-old son. "Hey, pal, it's Dad, Joe Biden." The Daily Mail reported, "It's 8:15 on Wednesday night. If you have a chance, give me a call. Nothing urgent. I wanted to talk with you. I thought the article released online, it's going to be printed tomorrow in the Times, is good. I think you're in the clear. Anyway, give me a call." Biden's voicemail follows a report detailing Hunter's dealings with Ye Jianming, a fast-rising Chinese oil tycoon who headed CEFC, the now defunct Chinese energy company that the Bidens were trying to sell American energy out to. Ladies and gentlemen, this is one of the largest scandals. Why? Because, well, Joe Biden and the Biden family is supposedly anti-fossil fuel. Remember, we need to get rid of fossil fuel, end fossil fuels here in America. Meanwhile, Chinese energy companies are the first companies that Joe Biden acts to sell American petroleum to. Joe Biden used his time outside of the administration, the Obama administration, to begin negotiations to get 10% stakes in Chinese energy. So his job as president is to cripple American energy, to absolute backstab our energy resources. By the way, we have more oil in Texas. More oil is in Texas than in Saudi Arabia. You need to begin to start asking questions. There's more oil available in Alaska than in all of South America. Why are we not utilizing American energy independence? Well, it's because of people like Joe Biden. But Joe Biden sees the value, of course, in oil. He just wants that value to be placed in the hands of America's enemies because Joe Biden is an enemy of America. Ladies and gentlemen, here is the actual voicemail of Joe Biden talking to his son about a New York Times article about his family selling out American energy to the Chinese.
Hey, pal, it's Dad. It's 8:15 on Wednesday night. If you get a chance, give me a call. Nothing urgent. Just want to talk to you. I thought the article, at least the thing online, it's going to be printed tomorrow in the Times, was good. I think it's clear. And anyway, if you get a chance, give me a call. I love you.
Joe Biden enters into Chinese business deal on Hunter Biden laptop. Now, they do a real number here with Joe Biden. Joe Biden is often kept secret on this laptop, meaning they use monikers for him, code names, the big guy, right? 10% for the big guy. It's like a meme at this point. The big guy is what Joe Biden is called. Chinese business deal email from Louisiana lawyer. I have requested him available for a call with Joe Biden and Hunter. Finally, Joe Biden is named in Hunter Biden's laptop. Why is he named? Well, he's named because of the Chinese oil deal. It all goes back to China here. President Joe Biden in 2017 is named in a family business email to broker a $25 million Chinese investment into an American energy sector. As Breitbart reported in 2021, Biden family was attempting to benefit from a deal that sold American natural gas assets to the Chinese energy company CEFC, which was arranged by Hunter and James Biden. CEFC is the same Chinese energy company with which Joe Biden also stood to gain 10% held by Hunter for the big guy, according to text messages. In an email dated October 27, 2017, Louisiana-based lawyer Robert Fente emailed the Biden family to set up a meeting with the Texas energy company that had a prior relationship with Joe Biden. I've requested him be available for a call with Joe Biden and Hunter Biden on Monday for the purchase of the 5 million tons of gas. This is Joe Biden being named in Hunter Biden's email to selling out American energy to the communist Chinese. The Biden family energy deal with CEFC never was completed. The family business partner, CEFC chairman Ye Jianming, was arrested on bribery charges. Another member of the deal was arrested by American intelligence agencies for being involved in arms dealership, illegal arms dealing, and being a spy. What a wonderful family, ladies and gentlemen. If your client will purchase 25-year stream of LNG natural gas, I can build a plant for $12 billion. Joe Biden was absolutely elbow deep in this deal, according to the emails. One of the greatest examples that contradict Joe Biden's claims was when the family business partner, Tony Bobulinski, met with Joe Biden to discuss business deals with CEFC. I directly dealt with the Biden family, including Joe Biden, Bobulinski said. Now, we have spoken with members of the Freedom Caucus, and members of the Freedom Caucus will be calling Tony Bobulinski to the stand. It continues. Flashback, the big guy. Joe Biden has been pulled into Hunter Biden's grand jury probe. Witnesses asked to leak identity of the big guy who will get the kickback in the Chinese energy deal, after former associate claimed it was the president. Ladies and gentlemen, who is the big guy? Obviously, it's Joe Biden. A grand jury examining Hunter Biden's tax affairs has heard from witnesses who were asked to identify the big guy, mentioned in an email discussing the potential business deal with the Chinese firm. Let me stop for a moment and state this. We are living through history right now. What is that history, you might ask? That history is that you currently have a president and his son directly under criminal investigation at the same time. Hunter Biden's criminal investigation is for tax fraud, for lying on federal documents, and hopefully for selling American secrets in espionage crimes. We'll see. This investigation is ongoing in Wilmington, Delaware. It stems from March 2017, an email discussing a joint venture with the now defunct Chinese energy company CEFC. Former Hunter Biden associate claimed the phrase "the big guy" referred to President Biden himself. He also denied all allegations of wrongdoing, with Hunter facing questions about why he was accepting work from energy firms despite no knowledge of the area. In the latest twist in the Hunter saga, the New York Post on Monday, published on Monday, 4 years after he was first put under investigation, that follows the Washington Post and the New York Times confirming the authenticity of Hunter Biden's laptop. So, ladies and gentlemen, James Gilliar, the business partner of Hunter Biden, wrote 10% for the big guy. Who is the big guy? Is he mentioned again? Well, actually, it turns out he is. Hunter Biden associate referred to the big guy in second message during panic about laptop hard drive leaks in the 2020 presidential election. A business associate of Hunter Biden referred in a text message to the big guy a second time. The reference was made, increasing suspicion that the nickname refers to Joe Biden. If they lose, honestly, I don't think the big guy really cares about that because he'll be too busy focusing on all the other S that he's doing, wrote James Gilliar in a message obtained by a Republican source passed on to the New York Post. In another text, Gilliar wrote, "Don't mention Joe being involved. It's only when you're face-to-face." So they tried to hide Joe Biden's involvement. You can see the text here. Ladies and gentlemen, Hunter Biden was forced to give half his salary to Joe Biden and paid thousands of dollars in repair for his father's home, the same home that held the classified documents. The allegation about having to pay his father half his salary came from direct text messages from Hunter Biden and his daughter, Naomi, 27, according to the New York Post. "I hope you can do what I did and pay for everything for this family for 30 years, Hunter said in a text in 2019. "It's really hard, but don't worry. Unlike Joe Biden, I won't make you give me half your salary." That's curious. It seems to give evidence and support to the idea that the role of Hunter Biden was to be a bagman for Joe, that Joe was the kingpin and Hunter's job was to sell American secrets and access to the highest offices in America and to pick up the checks and then to deposit the money into Joe's bank account. And now we have actually seen those bank accounts, and we know that's exactly what happened. Joe Biden met with at least 14 of Hunter's business associates while vice president. That's very interesting. If Joe Biden didn't know anything about Hunter Biden's business dealings, as we played you that clip after clip after clip of Joe denying it, why is he meeting with 14 of Hunter Biden's business associates? "I have never spoken to my son about overseas business dealings," Biden said in 2019. But the president met with at least 14 of Hunter Biden's associates from the U.S., Mexico, Ukraine, China, Kazakhstan over the course of his vice presidency, a Fox News Digital report found. 2 of Hunter's Mexican business associates, Miguel Velasco and Miguel Magrani, visited the West Wing on February 26, 2014, according to the Obama White House visitor logs, and Joe was later photographed with them. That's curious. "Do you have pictures from the lunch I had in Dad's office?" Oh, so he's having lunch with them in his office. Very interesting. Emails, which were reviewed by Fox News Digital for more than a year later, showed that Hunter arranged a video conference with his father and Carlos Slim, a Mexican billionaire with whom Hunter was seeking to do business at the time. Also, one of the majority stakeholders in the New York Times. Interesting that. Less than a month after the video conference, Slim, Velasco, and Minjani attended a meeting with Joe Biden and Hunter's business partner and family friend, Jeff Cooper, at the vice president's residence at No. 1 Observatory Circle. Interesting. It's almost as though Joe Biden was utilizing Hunter as the agent to sell out the federal government, to sell out your good-hearted tax-paying dollars to the highest bidder, and also to sell out American secrets. And now we know that Joe Biden received enormous amounts of money from his son, Hunter. Article: Hunter Biden's $49,000 rent to Joe exactly matches the deposit on an office shared with Chinese energy company. Now, we covered this extensively last week. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a laundry list of names from China and Ukraine, from Kazakhstan and Mexico, of people that Joe Biden met with. It is clownish and stupid to think that Joe Biden never met with Hunter Biden's business partners and was not the kingpin of this organization. Hence why they are fighting so viciously and ferociously against this story, because they know if you pull one single thread, that this is all going to come out. What is the House of Sweden? The House of Sweden is literally the proof that Joe Biden and Hunter Biden were elbows deep in business with the communist Chinese. They had a very fancy office in the House of Sweden. That's what this place is. The website of the House of Sweden is on your screen right now. This is a fancy office building right on the waterfront in Georgetown. You really can't get better than this place. They shared an office with the communist Chinese inside of this building. The rent for that office was $50,000 a month. More accurately, $49,910 for rent. Now, that business deal went belly up. And so then Hunter Biden was due a deposit, according to the article. Hunter Biden's monthly rent of $49,910 matches the rent deposit at the House of Sweden related to the Biden family business venture in the infamous CEFC China Energy Company. Hunter's $49,910 deposit also matches the amount of money he logged in a 2018 background check document unearthed by the New York Post's Miranda Devine. Ladies and gentlemen, we have showed you this document before. Hunter Biden, either mistakenly or correctly, we're not sure, because nobody has asked Hunter Biden under oath about this. We aren't sure. I won't believe anyone until we get the actual evidence. But Hunter Biden said he was paying $50,000 a month, $49,910, which is the exact same deposit he got back from breaking his lease with the criminal Chinese energy company inside of the House of Sweden. It's the exact same amount, to the penny, that he reported on a document. I don't think we have the document here for you, unfortunately, but he reported on a document, or is it in the article? Scroll through the article, let me know. There it is. Okay, there you go. There's the rent. There's the document. This document is signed by Hunter Biden. There's the rent. He's paying $50,000 a month at Joe Biden's house. Well, that's going to pay for the price of the house. That's going to pay the entire cost of the home in 16 months. This is called money laundering. Has anybody given any explanation as to why this is real? What's going on here? No, nobody's giving any explanation. We're waiting to find out. As of now, what we know, because the evidence is directly before you, is that Hunter Biden was paying $50,000 a month to rent the Wilmington house that had all the classified documents in it. Until somebody gives a proper explanation as to why Hunter Biden signed that document and where that money was actually going, we're just going to take him at his word. Occam's razor. We're just going to believe Hunter Biden at his word that he was paying $50,000 a month to live with Dad after his divorce. There's no hiding Biden's fright over classified document scandal. Here's an image of Joe Biden literally golfing with the Ukrainian oligarchs that Hunter Biden was serving on the board of Burisma with. In case you needed any further evidence as to why Ron Klain, the chief of staff, is bailing out, here we go. Hunter Biden is not a very smart man. He's not a very wise man. Hunter Biden is very curt. If you go through his laptop and his emails, he's very curt. He sends one-word responses. He sends single-word responses, or he doesn't respond at all to emails. Weirdly, as it pertains to the issue of Ukraine, Hunter Biden sent an extremely detailed 22-point email on what the U.S. policy will be toward Ukraine. Expertly written and with correct predictions about Russia's engagement in the regions of Donetsk and in the regions of Crimea. I think we have the email here for you. You can see it. It's on your screen. Now, this is odd. This certainly isn't Hunter Biden writing this. Let me just say that. As somebody who's gone through this laptop and as somebody who has gone through these emails and somebody who has seen Hunter Biden's emails, this isn't Hunter Biden writing this. This has all of the hallmarks of a classified briefing that was handed to Hunter Biden by Joe Biden. And this is an intelligence briefing. Therefore, this actually mitigates and is the causality of Hunter Biden's $85,000 a month paycheck from Burisma. What incredible value for money. Boy, oh boy. Spoiled for choice, Burisma was. Because they could go and get their grubby hands on official U.S. classified documentation and the policy and the information from our intelligence agencies. Who knows? Did people sacrifice their lives to get this information about what Vladimir Putin was about to do in the region? Because it all turned out to be correct when you read this email. This is about Russian aggression in Crimea, in Donetsk, and the plans of Russia and then the plans of America. And how would the global superpowers respond to each other? How would these nuclear superpowers respond? And what would that mean for business? Boy, this information is gold. And here's Hunter Biden just handing it off. Hunter Biden, not a man of many words, not a man of great intelligence. Remember, he was kicked out of the Navy for smoking crack in uniform. We're not the only people that have this contention. Clearly, this reporting did come from Miranda Devine. We put up her article, but also Tucker Carlson sunk his teeth into this last night. He came to the exact same conclusion that we have. Watch.
And in the mountain of reporting on this, one thing struck out to us, and it's from a Miranda Devine piece in the New York Post today. And in it, she quotes from a long email that Hunter Biden sent to his business partner in 2014 before a trip to Ukraine. And that email makes it very clear that Hunter Biden was reading classified information he got from his father in clear violation of federal law. It's very obviously true. And if it be proven true, and we think it can be proven true, they're done.
They're done. Now, Tucker Carlson is one of the best reporters in America. His background is in reporting, journalism, and he started off as a gumshoe reporter. Tucker Carlson has excellent sources inside of the Freedom Caucus and the Republican House. Tucker Carlson is saying there that this will be proven true. Read the tea leaves. As we have evidenced for you there exhaustingly, every single time that we could find publicly available Joe Biden being listed in his son's emails by name, Joe Biden being listed on official documents for his son's money laundering, Joe Biden being listed in a voicemail, in his own voice, talking to Hunter Biden about his business dealings. 14 times, Joe Biden meeting with his son's business dealings and business partners, and then the smoking gun evidence of Hunter Biden using classified material in order to benefit the Biden family business. Tucker Carlson is correct to jump to the conclusion, wait a second, Hunter Biden is not a smart man. Did you know that Tucker Carlson also was Hunter Biden's neighbor in Georgetown? Did you know this? They lived next door to each other. I tell you what, I've never met Hunter Biden. Tucker Carlson used to water his grass and wave to him. Ladies and gentlemen, Tucker Carlson knows something that we don't know. What is it? It's that there is proof that what this document scandal is about was about hoarding and squirreling away documents that could be utilized to benefit the Biden crime family. Now, the only thing we didn't talk about here today is the Penn Biden Center, which of course is funded entirely by Chinese grift money. And that is where so many classified documents began to turn up. That is what started this snowball rolling downhill. How much did the Chinese janitors that cleaned the Penn Biden Center pay in order to have access to drawer number 2, locked drawer number 2? Little janitor cards walking in there. Time to sweep the place. Yeah. Really clean up. What were in those documents? Well, damn it, we know a couple members of Congress too. We are in constant communication with them, and they are going to find out. They're going to get those documents. There's currently right now a SCIF being set up for these special documents, and the archivist is preparing to send these documents over to the House. So we will find out exactly what was in these documents and exactly what the Bidens were selling to the highest bidder, America's enemies. Why were the Bidens doing this? Why were the Bidens in league with the Chinese, the Ukrainians, the Russians? Ladies and gentlemen, because ultimately the Bidens wanted to sell out America. The Bidens were betting on American might and strength in the 22nd century. The Bidens were betting that America is over, that the door will be kicked in on this country, and they might as well take everything that they can right now and get out. That's what the Bidens bet. They bet against you. That's what this family was doing. They deserve every little bit of what's about to come to them. I think that the American intelligence, superstate and permanent state know this. I think that they are pissed off about it, quite frankly. I'm not saying that they are better angels. They are clearly an undemocratically elected black box refuse the actual abomination of this nation. Taxation without representation. King George is spinning in his grave. This is exactly what we fought against. Nonetheless, I think that I think that the intel agencies that perhaps wrote that Ukrainian email they're pretty furious to find it inside of a Bursima email sold to the highest bidder. Not good. Why are they turning on Joe Biden? It might just be that. Remember, 7 ways to Sunday at Getting Back at You. Chuck Schumer said it about Donald Trump, and we have posited here on this show many times. What if the same people that hate Trump hate Joe Biden just as much? Start thinking geometrically. Somebody who can't think even linearly in 2 dimensions, not 3 or 4 dimensions, is Karine Jean-Pierre, who's having to field an absolute barrage of hellfire missiles on this question yesterday. Hair on fire. Karine Jean-Pierre says Biden still intends to run for president after the FBI raided his home, gets grilled, and was surprised that more documents were found. Ladies and gentlemen, the best question of the day, without any reservation, is Peter Doocy saying, which 4-letter word did you shout when you found out that there would be more documents found after the FBI raided Joe Biden's home? Absolute thing of beauty. Watch Karine Jean-Pierre's hair ignite in fire.
When you found out that the FBI had located even more classified materials in Wilmington, which 4-letter word did you use?
Oh my goodness, Peter.
Can't say.
She laughed. It's not a real laugh. Not a real laugh. It's like the Joker. Okay, it's like a Heath Ledger laugh. That's not a real laugh. All right. Joe Biden running again in 2024. Is it happening? Peter Doocy with the flames. Watch.
House. Let's watch.
President Biden is still intending to run for re-election in 2024, right?
I'll just repeat what the president said after the midterm election, which is he intends to run. I'm going to be very careful from here, as you know, because we are covered by the Hatch Act, and I'm not going to speak further to his process.
Is there a precedent for people running for president after FBI agents search their sock drawer?
Say that one more time. Say that beginning part.
Is there a precedent for people running for president after FBI agents?
It sounds like you already know that the answer to that question. Look, here's what I don't
know the answer to that question. An FBI search of a president's residence is a big deal.
Here's what the president's going to focus on. He's going to focus on continuing to deliver for the American people. That's his focus. That's what he focuses on every day. That's what he's been focusing on the last 2 years. And nothing is going to change that. You think about the bipartisan infrastructure legislation, you think about the Inflation Reduction Act, you think about the Chips and Science Act, the bipartisan one, the last 2 that I mentioned, done in a bipartisan way. That's what the president wants to do. He wants to continue to deliver on his economic plan that is going to build the economy from the bottom up, middle out.
So Joe Biden is in a very rarefied era in history, being the first president to be officially investigated by federal authorities whilst his son is investigated at the same time. Why is he running for president again, Karine? You know, it's because of the bisexual agreements that he's made with, bipartisan. Hey, Karine, is this a cover-up? Is this actually a cover-up? Clearly it is. Watch the meltdown.
House Oversight Committee Chairman says this document situation has all the makings of a potential cover-up. Is President Biden involved in a cover-up?
We've been very clear here from this administration. The president has been very clear that he takes this very seriously when it comes to the when it comes to classified information, when it comes to classified documents, and that his team has been fully cooperative with this legal matter. Anything else, Peter? And I'm going to be very serious. You asked me kind of a question that everybody laughed at, which was interesting question to ask. But any other underlying questions that you may have, I would refer you to my colleagues, the White House counsel. I'm going to continue to be prudent. I'm going to continue to be consistent and refer you to any questions you have.
Does this sound like somebody who's in charge? Does this sound like somebody who's in control of the situation? Does it sound like somebody who is in command or actually believes what she's saying? Of course not. Of course not. This is Baghdad Bob. She is now Baghdad Bob. Okay? There is no way American troops will get into Baghdad. We are winning. We are winning. Karine Jean-Pierre, Baghdad Bob. She knows, and she's on her way out. Remember, Ron Klain just hit the bricks. Ron Klain is the master and controller of the Biden agenda, and he resigned this weekend in total disgrace. Why? Well, because he knows what's coming. It wasn't just Peter Doocy asking the flamethrower questions. Other corporate media reporters asking like, hey, you've lied to us many, many times, telling us that these are the last classified documents. You just there said Joe Biden takes classified documents very seriously. His own party is turning on him as it pertains. I mean, again, Baghdad Bob. Like, there will be no American invasion of Baghdad as the bombs are falling behind him as the tanks roll into Baghdad. She's saying Joe Biden takes the classified documents very seriously as FBI raids are uncovering more documents from over 14 years ago, Joe Biden's Senate term. That's at least 14 years ago. Joe Biden's Senate term. Joe Biden hasn't been a senator since 2009. So how can we ever trust you again? What a question from the corporate press. Watch.
You have said, though, from this podium many, many times over the last 2 weeks that this president takes the handling of classified material very seriously. And yet we continue to learn about more documents being found and discovered at his home, including now some that go back decades to his time in the Senate. So why should the American people believe that this president takes classified material seriously and the handling of it?
Look, the American people heard from the president directly on this when he was asked by your colleagues at least twice now about how he sees this process. And he was very clear with the response of what we're currently seeing. And he says, I take this very seriously. He said, I didn't know that the documents were there.
But I want to ask one more time, because you have been the one messaging that he takes this seriously. You have also been saying over and over again that you are cooperating fully with this investigation.
That hasn't changed, Mary.
But given that, why then did it take several searches and the FBI coming in to uncover the full extent of the documents at his house?
I understand your question. I've said many times, the president has said many times, he takes this very seriously. You've heard directly from him. You just said that his team is cooperating fully. And just want to add, and you heard from his team that the FBI was invited into the president's home. I'm not going to go beyond that. That was in the statement that was released on Saturday.
If Joe Biden took classified documents very seriously, why were there so many tranches of classified documents squirreled away inside of boxes, next to Corvettes, inside of closets? Why is Joe Biden's lawyers tampering with evidence of a crime? Why is all of this being allowed? How many more tranches of classified documents will be found? Karine Jean-Pierre asked this directly yesterday. Watch her pull the fire alarm.
You just said the president said that he did not know the documents were there. I'm not actually sure he has said that clearly. Are you saying the president did not know?
Well, he said he was surprised. He said he was surprised.
Any of the documents?
He said he was surprised. I'm just going to leave it there, and I'm going to refer you to the White House counsel's office. I'm just repeating what he said, and he said.
What you just said. You said he did not know the documents were there.
He said he was surprised that the documents were there. He said that, and that he takes this very seriously. That's what I want to make sure that the American people understand. And I just refer.
American people might question that, given that you keep every few days it seems we are finding that more documents have been found at his house.
What I'm telling you is what the president has said, which is he takes this very seriously. I will refer you to detailed explanations from statements that have come from his personal lawyer.
There's a large conversation and debate going on right now in conservative media about ownership and about independence and so on. We have our thoughts on this, and our thoughts are quite clear. We are very proud to be independent and very proud to be delivering directly to you the news that we think is edifying and important, and to be listening to you. That is our stance on this. We have a lot of friends in this movement, and quite frankly, I personally believe that independence is extremely important because it creates a connection with the audience. And so we deeply appreciate all of you. Now, every one of those corporate media reporters in that room has a boss. None of them are independent. So if you're sitting in the White House press room, you have a boss, and that boss has multiple other bosses, and those bosses are multi-trillion or billion-dollar corporations. Again, we're across the street from CNN here in Atlanta. So what does that mean? That means that when a reporter like that is sicked on Karine Jean-Pierre, they're being told to do that. Somebody is telling that, or that reporter is not independent. That reporter can't do what we do every single day and ask questions. That reporter is told which questions to ask. So when that reporter starts like dropping hammer after hammer after hammer, how can we trust you? Why are you lying? Why is Joe Biden lying? How many more documents will be found? When they start going at Karine Jean-Pierre's ankles like a rabid pit bull, somebody is telling them to do that. Those interests are pushing the narrative through that reporter, through that corporate media reporter. I think she works for CBS. And they are going after the White House. They're being told to by the hive mind, by the Borg. These are very dangerous times for Joe Biden, and they know it's about to get worse. Will Joe Biden's Rehoboth house, remember, Joe Biden has multiple mansions in Delaware. He has a house that hasn't been raided by the FBI. Joe Biden curiously was in that house this weekend. He's allowed to go there by the DOJ to go clean up a crime scene this weekend. Will the FBI be raiding his Rehoboth house next? The answer is absolutely yes. As we reported yesterday, Joe Biden's going to be spending this weekend in Camp David, where the president typically spends times of war. So Joe Biden knows this is a wartime battle that he is facing. He is losing, and Joe Biden is going to now hole up inside of the Maryland retreat at Camp David, while his Rehoboth house and all the monoclonal antibodies that he takes when he's there that nobody can see, and all the visitors that come tromping through with the Communist Chinese Party placards stamped on their badges and name IDs. Look, none of those people are getting logged. Joe Biden goes to these homes in Delaware to do Lord knows what. We're not exactly sure. But ladies and gentlemen, we know this. The raid is coming next on the Rehoboth house. And Karine Jean-Pierre was asked this directly. Watch.
Has the president invited the Justice Department to search his home in Rehoboth, Delaware?
I would refer you to the White House counsel's office, who will be speaking with all of you pretty soon.
Okay.
That's like a broken person. She's starting to break down, right? Because there's only so much your soul can take when you lie for a living. And when you're having to carry that burden, we are spiritual beings. Even if you don't believe in God, the reality is you are a spiritual being. You were created by a creator, and you can't carry that many lies. That burden begins to actually weigh on you and depress you. Eventually, the fraud implodes. Eventually, and this is the same way the Soviet Union fell, you cannot have a system built on so much fraudulence. You kick the door in and the entire house collapses. And that's happening right now. Retired top FBI counterintelligence agent who led the Trump-Russia probe arrested for his own ties to Russian oligarch. Ha, 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 ha. Oh, drink those tears, baby. They taste delicious. Watch.
One of the senior FBI agents in charge of the Trump collusion probe, he was working with Russia. Remember that? The agent's name is Charles McGonigal. That same guy has just been charged in apparently collusion with Russia, a money laundering scheme with Russia. So that's a little bit shocking, right? A Russian oligarch gave this guy money. So this is the same FBI that is now conducting the investigation of Joe Biden.
Wow. It's almost like the rot inside of these places are endemic. Charles McGonigal, the former special agent in charge of the FBI's counterintelligence division in New York, who retired in 2018, is charged with violating U.S. sanctions for agreeing to provide services to Oleg Derpeska, a sanctioned Russian oligarch. He was charged alongside Sergei Shastarov, a former Soviet and Russian diplomat who later became a U.S. citizen and a Russian interpreter for courts and government offices. 5-count indictment unsealed in Manhattan. Though not referenced or related to the indictment, McGonigal, while serving as chief for the cybercrime section of the FBI headquarters in Washington, D.C., was one of the first bureau officials to learn of the allegations that George Papadopoulos was a campaign advisor. Former President Donald Trump boasted that he knew Russians and had dirt on Hillary Clinton. LOL. And then he started to lead the Operation Crossfire Hurricane. McGonigal, 54, New York City, and Shesterov, 69, of Morris, Connecticut, both previously worked in an attempt to have sanctions removed as public servants. They should have known better. The U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, Damian Williams, said in a statement, the office will continue to prosecute those who violate U.S. sanctions enacted in response to Russian belligerence in Ukraine in order to line their own pockets. Isn't that beautiful? What do we often say? We say, pride cometh before destruction, and these people's hubris will absolutely be their downfall, along with the reality that if your entire worldview is built on lies and the entire operational philosophy is built on corruption, it's like the Biden crime family. Eventually the door gets kicked in and the entire house falls down. Speaking of the entire house narrative falling down, Ghislaine Maxwell believes Jeffrey Epstein was murdered and wishes she never met him. Ghislaine Maxwell is said to believe that disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein was murdered and she wishes she never met him. The British socialite, 61, was sentenced to 20 years in U.S. prison for luring young girls to massage rooms so Epstein could abuse them. Between 1994 and 2004, Epstein was found dead in his cell in a Manhattan jail as he waited trial for sex trafficking charges. His death was ruled a suicide, but Maxwell, who had a relationship with him, said she doesn't believe that. In an interview with Talk TV's Jeremy Kyle Live, Ghislaine behind bars, she said, I believe that he was murdered. I was shocked. Yikes. Have a listen.
No, he didn't. I don't believe he did. I believe that he was murdered. Well, I was shocked. And I wondered how it had happened. Because as far as I was concerned, he was going to... I was sure he was going to appeal. And I was sure that he was covered under the non-prosecution agreement.
Yeah.
But I wasn't in the indictment. So I wasn't mentioned. I wasn't even one of the co-conspirators.
So a couple of things here. Jeffrey Epstein, clearly it's clearly the drug dealer here as it pertains to these heinous crimes and human trafficking. However, people who are also committing crimes are the users of these illegal substances. Let's just use sort of like this metaphor, because we don't want to describe the things that we'd get deplatformed, demonetized if we describe the actual heinous acts. So let's talk about a criminal enterprise here. The person who's in charge of the criminal enterprise, be it Joe Biden, obviously has agents, and those agents are also implicating in crimes. These are called RICO laws, where you operate up a chain to get the kingpin. Jeffrey Epstein was clearly a kingpin. Many say that he was working for American intelligence. He was getting information on some of the most powerful people in the world. He was tricking them and trapping them with some of the most heinous possible trappings. You all are aware of what Jeffrey Epstein was doing on Little St. James. But more importantly, in order to mop up a criminal enterprise, you need to start with the users. The criminal enterprise doesn't exist without users. Who are the users? Prince Andrew? Bill Gates? Bill Clinton? Republicans? Democrats? I don't care. Name them. That's the thing we don't have on this. Where are the users? Ladies and gentlemen, where are they? That's what we don't have. Where's that question? Ghislaine Maxwell stating, a meme, right? Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. It's a meme. It's obvious. But who are the people who are implicated in this? I don't care what the letter behind their name is. I could care less who they are. These people are monsters. They abused and trafficked, committed like heinous, demonic crimes. It's purely satanic, and the America needs to know. America needs to know. Why does Bill Clinton exist on the flight logs to Little St. James on Jeffrey Epstein's plane time and time again? I don't know, 12, 14 times. Bill Gates, Senator Bob Menendez, and so on and so forth, and so on and so forth. These people are absolute monsters. Why does Jeffrey Epstein have a painted image of Bill Clinton in his Manhattan apartment? In a blue dress, Monica Lewinsky's blue dress. These people are truly evil. It's truly evil. And so we must remember, ladies and gentlemen, that we are indeed sheep. There are lots of wolves, and we have a shepherd, and that we are protected, ladies and gentlemen, that these people don't actually run the world, that God runs the world, and that the Creator has always been steadfast in protecting his flock. The Lord is my strength and song, and is become my salvation. Psalms 118, verse 14. The Lord is my strength, my song, and has become my salvation. When you feel a little bit like everything is spiraling out of control, please remember that the people who are writing these psalms were also being hunted by the powers that be through the desert. They were seeking to destroy them. They had the entire nation turn on them. The nation of Israel was utterly turned upside down. All seemed lost. And yet the strength flowing from a font evermore, the strength of our Lord, and it's something to keep a clear eye on, especially in these dark times. We keep a clear eye on our priorities, God, family, country, on this show, every single show. We are independent, and we thank you for watching. Why? By watching, you support us. By subscribing, you support us. So thank you so much. This is a time where independent media, it is hard to build, but it is more important, I think, than ever. And so we appreciate you, and we will be delivering every single day, even if we're traveling for work. We will be delivering every single day the information that you want to know, and doing it without any strings attached, ladies and gentlemen. And we are proud to do so. And we just absolutely want to say once again, thank you. Thank you. Without the viewers, without this community, we're nothing. So God bless all of you. And we are in this movement together. And that is why we will be here every single day on The Benny Show. We go on offense. Whew. And we actually have a really fun time doing it. So thank you again for watching. Back in the studio tomorrow, back in Tampa. I always miss it when we're traveling outside of Florida. I sincerely do. We'll see you again tomorrow. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show.